is that I actively discourage investors from ever paying attention to that region, and I won't even stop to meet companies. And I discourage all of the investors or companies I engage with from ever moving or doing business there. Now, the video that you just saw, does that look like a place that he described? Verbal answer? Yeah. No. From what we know about Miami, Broward County, is that reflective of what we know about the entrepreneurship ecosystem here? Nope. So we have a job to do. We really have to think about how we shift the perception around what assets and resources and opportunities exist here. There's an African proverb that says, until the lion tells his side of the story, the tale of the hunt will always, always glorify the hunter. That's our problem here, and that's our opportunity here. We need to change the tale of the hunt to focus on what opportunities we have, and we only do that through collaboration. So that's my insight on entrepreneurship ecosystem building, the work that Venture Cafe does, and I don't want to take too much more of Sandy's time. Keep going.
That was great. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, here's the clicker. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to sit, but I guess I don't want to mess up the screen. I'm free to walk. So again, I'm Sandy McDonald. I'm the director of the Office of Economic and Small Business Development, and I don't know, you might want to turn this down some. So raise your hand if you know anything about Broward County's Office of Economic and Small Business Development. All right, we got 5 people who know something about the office. So based on our first speaker, and this is perfect transition, I'm your resource. I'm not your, and I understand I'm at a university setting, and George said earlier he believes he's the youngest person in the room. So this isn't for George. This isn't your granddaddy's granddaddy. And for all the rest of us, this isn't your granddaddy's government. We are a tad bit different. We recognize that we want to be a part of the community. We want to provide services to the community. And we also understand in Broward County, even as government, we do not know everything. So as you just heard about collaborations, we truly believe in collaborations. We actually believe that government is actually fluid. There's certain things in my office that we start. We just flat out need to do it based on the need, based on assessment, based on what's lacking. There's certain things in our office that we will actually just cheerlead. Because at the end of the day, the folks who are doing it know what they're doing far better than us, and we just want to cheerlead and keep theirs going. There's other things that we'll do that we may start, but we need to turn over, or someone else starts and they want the collaboration. And some things, believe it or not, as government, we would just stay away from. I don't want to mess it up. But as that team partner, Broward County is actually trying to make sure, with all of our partners relevant to an ecosystem, we can support what needs to be supported. We can start with partners what need to be started. We can share what our opportunities are. And government actually, in spite of what you might believe today, can work for the residents, our businesses, our entrepreneurs, and for this South Florida region, our tourists, as well as our snowbirds. From my office perspective, what we do is actually not something out of a pocket. The county commission actually believes in prosperity for all. So we've been attempting to shape as well as expand what we currently do for the last 6 years that I've been in office to make sure we can reach each one of the pockets in Broward. Our commission actually believes prosperity for all. So as a partnership and a collaboration with my most affluential business community in Broward, we currently serve directly 6 of the lowest census tract, layman's term, 6 of the poorest communities in Broward. We're all committed to their success. The idea is that we can't continue to grow unless we're bringing everyone in Broward with us. So that's one of the commitments that even the business community, who has never participated in those communities, all recognize. We need to lift all. At the same time, we just had a business initiative in Broward. If you're familiar with our main library, there was approximately 88 families and or individuals that used to have what you might describe as tent cities for homeless. And at the end of the day, when it comes to not-for-profit community organizations, community-based organizations, government organizations, human service agency organizations, most of us just continue to feed those individuals that was at that site. we recognized as a county that wasn't enough. So the county, along with this business community, I'm talking about AutoNation, I'm talking about Hazinga and Waste Management, I'm talking about the top leaders, we all decided that couldn't continue. Those individuals and apartment and homeowners all decided we were moving every one of those families a year ago into housing. That will continue. That wasn't a 30-day thing, and that's not a 60-day thing. That's going to continue. But in addition, we decided that we're going to make sure that they all get the necessary wraparound services so we never have to find them again on the street. That was the first pilot in Broward in terms of aiding homelessness. And again, it does impact business, and that was the first one we're going to continue. So again, you have a government here in Broward who recognizes that we have to do things as a part of a collaboration, but we have to do things with support. Why is that important today? When we start talking about the ecosystem and talking about entrepreneurship, our county office does the same in terms of making sure we recognize what supports we can offer for all of our resources and in what areas and partnerships we need to align ourselves with to make sure that there are genuine opportunities in Broward for the person who was asleep, who had a great idea, to eventually be smacked, woke up, and had a chance to put that idea on paper and take that concept to a white paper, that white paper to a business plan, that business plan to an actual launch. We want to make sure we can be a part of that. There's certain things we can do, and there's other things that we can do through our partnerships. About our office, it's really about economic development, it's really about job creation, and again, over the last 4 years of my 6 years here, we're putting even more of a push on supporting that ecosystem and addressing entrepreneurial opportunities. The Business Opportunity Act, that's our BOA of 2012, that's what allows us to do what we do. And it's actually just a county ordinance that simply says you will work with small business, you will help to develop small business. And I've even had, on the resource side, the county commission to change what used to be an average of 25% of what Broward buys, we want to buy from small business. That's how Broward used to participate when I got here. May of last year, we asked the county, if you're serious about small business, forget this average. You know, our average is 6th grade. Some numbers high, some numbers low to try to get to that middle. We now say at least 25%. On the record right now, at least 25% of whatever Broward buys, I need to buy from small businesses. Broward used to procure $600 million in goods, materials, and services every year. A month ago, the purchasing director told me, hey, Sandy, you can stop saying 600. I said, why? She said, last year, Broward procured over $1 billion in goods, materials, and services. So based on the program, based on the ordinance, I'm now required, challenged, and there's an opportunity for entrepreneurs to recognize we're trying to spend at least 25% of that billion with small businesses. So again, as entrepreneurs begin to create the ideas, and we begin to decide how those ideas will be nurtured and what some of those opportunities are, Broward is something we always want entrepreneurs to consider. Not that I want you to believe that government is the best place for you to go to make all of your millions and to carry your ideas onto your succession plan. But based on your ideas, based on your goods, materials, and services, we do want you to recognize that Broward County could be one of your customers. We could be one of those groups that you look to for the procurement opportunities based on the goods, materials, and services we buy. Yes, sir?
Do you like Japanese food?
Do I like Japanese food? I might not, but I got 31 cities in Broward. You got 1.9 million residents in Broward. Broward is 1,300 square miles. Broward is larger than 11 states in the United States, including the District of Columbia. That's your county. So with that, there's major opportunities. And as I was saying, we buy a lot, but we don't buy everything. But when you think about Broward, you got an airport. You got Port Everglades, a seaport. You run your roads, you run your transportation, you do your signalization, you got government east, you got government west, you got the courthouses, you got your libraries, you got your parks and rec. Broward buys a lot, but we don't buy everything. And with that, we also have IT. We have the consulting opportunity. So you always want to consider, based on your good material service or your product, hey, at the end of the day, you might be pushing into private industry, but you have to take a look at your own community to see, is there an opportunity for what I do to be a part of Broward's procurement process? Kaufman Foundation Fast Track, a program that we started, we actually got certified in Kaufman 6 years ago. They actually got certified the year I got here, about 6 months before I got here, and we were doing the half-day workshops. As one of the ecosystem opportunities, we administer Kaufman as an opportunity for small businesses and startups, entrepreneurs, to understand the A through Z of starting a business. And the good thing about Broward is that at the end of the day, I just got to mention it, 1.9 million residents. We recognize we can't do it all. So we're proud to hear of what's taking place here at Nova. We're proud to hear what's taking place at Broward College. We're proud to hear, as well as a partner, with what's taking place with the Urban League. We're proud to hear and we're a partner with what's taking place with the Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance. We actually have about 16 different partners in Broward County that's doing some form of entrepreneurship development. And because of that, as you heard from the first speaker, as an ecosystem, the main thing we're trying to now drive to is how do we, as resources, as opportunities for you, make sure we're all speaking to each other. How do we make sure that if you started at this point and this was able to take you to A through M, somebody else can get you from that M through that Z? How do we recognize that at the end of the day, if you have your product and you're ready to take your product to launch, you can have that seed capital or that venture capital to aid you in that support? We want to make sure as a county those resources are here. And because of that, we're currently working with Nova Southeastern for the potential of an innovation hub, an innovation center that we hope would foster and nurture that real A through Z, one-stop shop to support and attract businesses in terms of entrepreneur launching here in Broward County. But for our Kaufman program, Broward recognizes that it's important, even now, for us to be one of the organizations as a start. I currently have 3 of my other cities out of 31 who are now getting their staff certified in Kaufman. The ideal is that, again, with so many residents, so many entrepreneurs, so many ideas, we want to make sure that everyone who has an idea has an opportunity to get somewhere to foster a George of the world from the beginning to the end, and for the 13 points that was recorded, to make sure he knows where to go to get each one of those addressed. And again, before he ever even has to act upon it, he can have that as a part of a white paper and or a business plan. Yes, sir.
Is this also going to be open in Miami or in Palm Beach?
So Broward's Kaufman is currently set up that it's Broward County residents first, but based on applications, we also take Miami as well as Palm Beach. In my last session, there were 2 entrepreneurs who actually were from Miami who participated in the program. Again, county commission dollars, residents dollars, business tax dollars, so certainly the focus is Broward County, but we also recognize in terms of regionalization, I'm South Florida. So at the end of the day, I made a mention about $1.9 million here. When it's all said and done, Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami, we're over 6.3 million. And at the end of the day, we're stronger as a region than individual silos. So we respectfully make sure from my 9 elected officials, the commissioners, to all the taxpayers' dollars, that our focus is Broward, but we recognize it is beyond that. Thanks for that question. Again, that was also mentioned earlier. So that's our real number. The majority of the businesses in Broward are 20 employees or less. We are a small business community. I'm born and raised in Michigan, so I grew up with GM, Ford, and Chrysler. 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 employees. Their second and third tier suppliers all had 60 and 80,000 employees. Here in Broward, 80+% of the businesses have 20 employees or less. So because of that, it makes sense for Broward County government, who used to average $600 million a year in procurements and goods, who last year went over $1 billion, it makes sense for Broward to simply say, hey, Sandy, can't we buy at least a fourth of that from businesses in Broward? And I told the commission, I think we actually can. One of the other things that I'm currently doing, I'm meeting with all 31 cities. If I have a Broward County program, the businesses actually come from the 31 cities in Broward. So I need each city, don't duplicate my program. They don't have the staff, they don't have the resources. But I need every city to have a local preference. What's the local preference? If the city of Davie just has to asphalt the library parking lot, I want the city of Davie to be selfish. Competitively try to find that asphalt company in Davie. Competitively. But if you can't find that asphalt company in Davie, I'm telling the city of Davie, look at my other 30 cities through my directorate. If I had all 31 cities doing that, we began to keep those dollars home. Return those dollars in that community. Why is that important? I couldn't find the asphalt company in Davie, but I found the asphalt company in Sunrise. So the city of Davie say, well, Mr. McDonald, why is that important to me? For all we know, one of your residents in Davie works for that company in Sunrise. So you're helping them to get that money to bring it back home, to pay that rent, do that mortgage, go to the grocery store, go to the gas station, and keep that commerce in your city, let alone in our county. Again, if 31 cities were to focus on the city, then on the county, as far as I'm concerned, if I can't get it in the city, and I can't get it in my county, I want to buy it in this region. I can't buy it in this region, I want to buy it in this state. So the reality is we want to keep those dollars home, and that's the other part of the resource for entrepreneurs to recognize that there's always a value proposition for why, just one of the reasons why, I want to be real clear, I might start a business and sustain a business in Broward, because there are gainful opportunities in Broward. Benefits of certifications to small businesses, as I talked about that 25%. I have a shelter program that anytime the county buys something for $250,000 or less, I get to look in my directory. These are all about resources for entrepreneurs. And if I find at least 2 firms in my directory that provides that good material or service, I get to write down the word shelter market. Purchasing gets to put it on the street, but the only people who can bid are folks who are certified with me as small business enterprise. That's the county's commitment to making sure my smallest of businesses also have a chance not just to compete in county procurement, but to compete with businesses of like size. Don't want you bidding against the big boys. Bid against the businesses of your size to grow where you can then eventually be competitive with the big boys. This is our certification program. As mentioned, SBE is my small business enterprise, and CBE is my county business enterprise. And the main thing about certification, if you're an entrepreneur and if your product, good, or material or service may end up being something that the county actually procures, the only thing about certification is that a business needs to be in Broward at least 1 year. The owner of that business has to have a personal net worth of $1.3 million or less, not counting their primary residence. The revenue generated by that business for the CBE has to be an average of $5 million or less over 3 years. And if you're in construction, $9 million or less over 3 years. I'm saying it that way because even as an entrepreneur, recognize that, again, based on your good material or service and sometimes your product, you may just be starting and you might not fit that year. But it's not so much about that year. There is so much free, and as a taxpayer, you already paid for it, technical assistance, workshop training, resources made available to you, that the year will actually go by. Remember, at the end of the day now, I'm government. So there's going to be processes. But the year will go by, and by the time the year has ended, and now you're eligible to be certified, you have already understood the program, you know the processes to participate in procurement, and you've already familiarized yourself with people, and as you will do as an entrepreneur or as a startup business, it's all about relationships. And if you understand the things to do, the things to say, and the people to say them to, and if you understand the process, you can competitively engage any procurement, including government procurement. So again, our criteria is actually set up to make sure that someone is committed to Broward. And again, even pre-certification, we talked about the Kaufman aspect. What we do with our entrepreneurs, even if it's not about government procurement, is to also make sure how our entrepreneurs and our startups understand how government procurement works. Even if you don't want to have a good material service and do business with government. Business, at the end of the day, is business. We tell my small businesses, I certify you as small. But when you get that procurement contract, you're in business. That's small business. You are in business. They got to make sure that you dotted your I's, crossed your T's. You got to have your legal aspect. You got to have your financial aspect. You got to know your target market. You got to be able to do that pitch. Every one of you know you honestly got to be able to do that pitch. And whether you afforded that 90 seconds or not, someone needs to find out why you and why not the 15 behind you. So as a county, we want our small businesses to get certified. We want them to get interested in county procurement. And again, if they have that good material or service, we want them to recognize that there's a process that we can walk them through to not only understand county government procurement, but how to actually participate and be competitive. Yes, sir.
Can I just amplify on this? Because I will tell you, I was at your urban league presentation and spent about a half hour on that topic. And I will tell you that in our clinic, we have startup companies, and I see that they potentially could take enough yet. We're telling them about this because this is an unbelievable opportunity for a company starting up to get business. And as you said, you have to show that you can do it. You've got to go in and get certified. You have an office, Freddie Castillo, that can help people work on that to get their certification. But it puts you on a list by your industry code, and as projects come up, and it's not, they're building the airport. They also need somebody to perhaps do programming of the computers that work at parking gates.
That's correct.
And it's small stuff. You get the big contractors that are building the airport, but you get the small contractors that there's a ton of stuff to do. And it's an amazing opportunity, and I highly recommend that everybody look into this. It's not just Broward County, although this is your topic, but there's other minority certifications in the state of Florida and others, and you need to be aware of that because there's a ton out there that can help you and also get you education. So I wanted to
No, thanks for that, Stephen.
Just bring me a slide. Go back. There, your physical address, business service center address.
Yes.
Which is a business service. It's not.
Right.
With that, doesn't that deter a lot of small businesses?
It does, but it doesn't. What we actually say as a part of the certification process, we don't do right now as a county taxpayer-based virtual offices. We do recognize incubator spaces. We do recognize that we have service spaces. Because again, anytime someone can demonstrate as a business that there's some owner, doesn't have to be them, who's actually paying into that tax base. We're actually operating from the business license tax receipt of every business in Broward. So therefore, from an institution that would have an incubator program, there's already a tax base. If that institution and that program requires that participant to have a lease agreement, that then satisfies. It's okay that that's reduced rent. There's a lease agreement. Any business and every business that's registered through SunBiz and eventually gets registered with the county must demonstrate that they have a business license tax receipt from the city that they're in, as well as the county. So that's one of the things that we're clear with all entrepreneurs. You can leave me and go back to Michigan, Illinois, or wherever. You have a business license tax receipt, as we were sharing with George earlier, that you have to pay. So from our perspective, we want to make sure that A, I'm government, so I apologize in advance, that it's a legitimately operating business. So you have to be licensed and registered in the state that you're operating in. Because of our Constitution, you also have to be licensed in the city that you're operating in. And Broward County requires all cities to make sure that every business operating also has a county business tax receipt. So those are the things that we walk our businesses through to make sure that whether, again, even if you don't do business with the county, if you call yourself a business, as you're going through your entrepreneurship program, as you're deciding to graduate, as you're deciding that you got the capital and you're going to eventually launch, you now are a business in Broward County. If it happens here, that means potentially your location is in Davie. You have to see the city of Davie. You have to see the county of Broward. And whether you're doing government business or not, that's still a requirement for business operating in Broward County. Certification, as Stephen also mentioned, for women and minorities. We do a lot of procurement and activities and projects at the airport, as well as with transportation. We also work with FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation, for highway administration. There's a federal statute, 49 CFR Part 23 and 26 for aviation and transportation that says, hey, Sandy, if your folks at the airport or your folks over here in transportation touch federal money, you have to use the federal methodology and assure that on every project, there is a DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. That's exclusively for minorities and for women. So we certify minorities and women-owned businesses who have the opportunity. Again, we're just completing $3.1 billion of activity at the airport. We're getting ready to launch in November the second master plan to expand that airport. That's another $2 billion. So any of those projects that Mark Gale, our CEO, does that touches Department of Transportation money, I have to place a goal on that for the inclusion of DBEs. All of those merchants, the retails, the Starbucks, and the businesses you see inside the airport, there's also a federal program that requires whoever those master concessionaires are, whoever those big boys are, they have to have a percentage of what they do with ACDBEs, Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. So if you ever wanted to know how to get your shop into the airport, that's our office working with the business management office of the airport. If you ever wanted to know who the folks are doing all that expansion at the airport, those are DBEs based on major contracts that are awarded, assuring that minorities and women also participate in those programs. So our office can also aid women and minority businesses to participate in this federal program. The upside of this federal program, you get certified with me as a DBE or an ACDBE. If your cousin calls you in Georgia, say, hey, I think there's an opportunity here, you can go straight to Georgia. Georgia can only do one of three things or all three. They can ask for a copy of my certification that I gave you, or they can ask for a copy of the site visit that I did before I gave you a certification, or Georgia can ask you for a copy of the application. If all those paperwork is in order, you're now certified in Georgia. You get a best friend, say, hey, come to Ohio next, the same thing. Neither one of those states can make you do it all over again. Once you're certified as a DBE or an ACDBE, all you have to do is show your documentation to go to another state. We have some DBEs nationally who have thought about it, especially those in transportation and logistics, who are certified in 40 to 50 other states by design for wherever the business opportunities are. So that's a part of the program that is actually larger than even my local small business program, that we encourage all minorities and women who come to me for my local. I always make sure that we encourage them to recognize that, hey, there are DBE and ACDBE opportunities in Broward County as well. We're hungry, and there's more space. So let's put it this way. I already said there's about 60 to 70,000 businesses in Broward. The reason why I say 70,000, according to the Census Business Pattern, when they gave me the number in 2016, they said over 60,000. That was in 2016. I have to believe in the last 3 years we've grown. So I got about approximately 70,000 businesses in Broward. My challenge, but your opportunity is, you saw that the majority of the businesses, 85, 89 plus, are 20 employees or less, so they're truly small. The point is, let's just take the 60. 10% of 60,000 is 6,000. Again, I have to believe that there's at least 6,000 businesses in Broward that's been here at least 1 year, where the personal net worth of the owner is under $1.3 million, and where that business is generating less than $5 million a year on an average. If that's so, me with approximately 600 certified small businesses, I'm missing about 5,400 businesses. I know I have more businesses who need to recognize that all the county's opportunities are available. Now here's the opportunity, as I always tell my existing small businesses. The opportunity is, if I'm spending $1 billion in procurement right now, the county just passed a surtax. That means you as well as I, we're part of a collection of $355 million a year, every year, for the next 30 years. And the county commission decided, hey Sandy, forget your 25%. We want at least 30% of that spent with small businesses. And oh yeah, by the way, each city's gonna be getting some money. City, if you touch this money, you too have to use small businesses at a total of $30,000. I'm expanding the convention center right now by 400,000 square feet and building an 800-room Omni Hotel attached to it. That's a $1 billion project that the county is actually sponsoring. The reality is, from our procurement to surtax to projects like the convention center expansion and the hotel, there are business opportunities for small businesses in Broward, and the county commission has assured all projects, even those special outside of daily procurement, has a small business component. With that being said, I also recognize capacity. If that's all I have in terms of certified businesses, and that's across all the NAICS codes, that's across all the North American industry codes. That's the consultants, that's the lawyers, that's the brokers, that's the HVAC, that's the electrical, that's the plumbing, that's the landscaping, that's the roofing. Across all the NAICS codes, if I have approximately 600, I don't have enough for all the things we're building and doing that is also requiring small business participation. So we want to attract more small businesses. We're making sure that entrepreneur programs throughout the county recognize all entrepreneurs and all their dreams and ideas aren't county or government driven specific. We get it. But we still need to say, similar to what Stephen mentioned, for everyone in the room, if your idea of the material or service ends up being something that the government can procure, you want to look at us as one of those opportunities. Broward County is buying. I got a little pamphlet. And again, we'll make all of this available to Stephen as a PowerPoint so you guys can have our whole presentation. I mean, you already have it. But we got a pamphlet, and I share this pamphlet, and it's the things that we buy that I don't have enough vendors. It's also a thing that we buy that I don't have no vendors. See, the county always says, hey, Sandy, I'll give you that gold, but it's on eligible contracts when you got vendors. There's some things I have to just sign off on my desk, no gold, because I don't have any vendors. But I have an outreach department that when I have to sign off on something, no gold, because I don't have a vendor, their job is to go out and buy me some vendors. So the next time that kind of a procurement comes back around, hopefully I never have to say no twice. The next time around, I can set that goal. Sir, were you going to raise your hand?
Yeah.
Okay, for that one, expanding a convention center. How many of you? So as a part of that convention center, that parking garage, I'm going to knock down the floor for that garage. There's going to be some demolition. There's going to be some excavating. There's going to be some hauling. Then we're going to be building a new parking garage. So everything that goes into that new construction. 800-room hotel. Some of the major disciplines, of course, beyond construction, some of the individual disciplines, the electrical, the flooring, some of the furnishings, the carpet, all of the furniture. You got the roofings, you got the glass. So we think about the construction aspect. All of that's going to be relevant to the convention center and the hotel. The thing that we're also adding for our consultant community is also in our IT community and also for our cultural community in terms of growing opportunities is that we're also putting an apprenticeship program, we're also putting an internship program, and we also have a local labor hire requirement and even a hard to hire labor requirement. So if I had to say for that type of construction, it's going to be mostly construction related, but there's also the furnishings. So when we think about it, just like this room you're in right now here in this library, minus the library, minus the convention center, everything that's needed and that you're looking at would certainly be that in that project on steroids. Get certified is something we encourage, and again, you never can do this in these quick speeches and during these workshops. You are encouraged, one-on-one, phone call and or visit, to come to the office and, hey, start with me. I'll decide which staff member is best. If you want to understand county resources, the county small business program, if you want to understand our entrepreneurship program, how you can engage in that program based on Kaufman, or if you just simply have questions about what it is you do or want to do and how the county may be that additional resource and who are some of our other partners. Your part as a vendor, we always tell our vendors, hey, after you get certified, just don't get certified. We have these workshops called Certified Now What? I don't want you to be happy that you can take my 600 and make it 601. I need to make sure you really understand what it takes to understand procurement, what it takes to get to a bid, what it takes to understand your estimating, and what it takes to competitively and hopefully successfully begin to win bids in Broward County. Because your success is ours. You grow, you're going to hire more folks. We believe that there's a true return on investment by making sure that at least a fourth of what the county procures, we do with local small businesses. And again, on the resource end of this conversation this morning for this ecosystem, I'm one of the resource ends of what some of the opportunities can be based on an entrepreneur deciding to get started, to legitimately go through the process, but also as a part of the resource, I can tell you what some of those hurdles are, what some of those challenges are, and aid you in addressing and getting over some of those hurdles and challenges as you're going through the process. One of the worst things that can happen is you prepare for your lunch and you didn't take under consideration some of the things we talked about today, all the things that the government actually has as a requirement of you. And the other part about that is that you take on this launch and you didn't recognize, in terms of understanding, as I said earlier, the target market, that, oh wow, what I'm doing, the government actually is procuring. Oh wow, what I'm doing on that Broward is buying, actually Sandy doesn't have nothing but 2 vendors in his directory. Oh, wow, I went through Sandy's office and went through that process and realized they procured about $6 million of that service last year with only 3 people in this directory. So that means there's a potential opportunity for me to feed into that. All the information that I'm describing, we can make available. We can work with you to determine, based on a good material or service, who in the last 2 years in the county procured it, how much they paid for it, and what was the competitive bid. So at the end of the day, if you decide that that's something you want to do on the next recurring opportunity, you have that background data. We help with the R&D of understanding our procurement. So the upside for Broward in terms of its participation as one of the members for trying to establish this ecosystem, for entrepreneurs, we want them to definitely know as they're cultivating and nurturing an idea, there are real resources here at the county. But in addition to real resources, based on the business, the good material service, there's a chance for the county to be one of your clients. And at the end of the day, if you, and I'll leave you with this, if as an entrepreneur, and we all love networking, always remind folks, at some point, your networking has to equal net worth. Mm-hmm. Don't keep going to meetings just getting your chit-chatting. Your networking at some point has to equal your net worth.